Here we go, coffee, computer, new camera, and guess what? New pooch. And this is the new little pooch. You'll probably be seeing him on a lot of the YouTube videos on JacquesGaines.com. He's what's called a golden doodle, which is a mix between a golden retriever and what they call the royal poodle, Caniche Royale. So, of course, he's going from my mic. He is a puppy, therefore we have to deal with what a puppy is. He's going to be a pretty big guy, but he's really, really nice, and he's a nice guy, and I just love him with all my might. We're dealing with the allergies, but anyway, so I just wanted to introduce. His name is Milo. Milo, you'll be seeing. You're talking about yawning. Should you sell your X-T2, keep your X-T3? Should you buy an X-T3 and keep the X-T2? Can all be decided on whether the cameras are similar, which points they're similar on, and if you're ready to make the upgrade. So let's get into it. Milo, what do you think? Yeah. No opinion. This dog has no. I think that's why people love dogs so much. Okay, so first let's start off with the similarities of these two cameras. Now, body design, you're not going to change. You're going to be looking basically at the same two cameras. And it might even be disappointing when you pull the camera out of the box. The actual grip, the body feel on both of these two things is just pretty well amazing. I really like the way they feel, and it hasn't changed that much. They both still have full weather sealing. They have the same three-way tilting screen. Shutter speed, ISO, focus, exposure compensation, metering, and burst dials, basically all the same. They both have microphone inputs. You also have 15-minute T mode for your shutter speed, 1/8,000th of a second mechanical, and 1/32,000th electronic shutter on both the cameras. So those are the things I wanted to mention about the similarities. So in that, you're getting great cameras with both. Now, here's where you decide whether you're gonna upgrade or not. Now, where they differ, you're getting a higher megapixel count. Although only 2 megapixels, I find it really funny that today we're in a time when we're saying only 2 megapixels, when there was a time where there were cameras that were just 2 megapixels. So you're basically going up in quality by one full old camera. Processor has changed, the speed has changed, and it will count a lot, especially when it comes to autofocus, imaging, processing, and its capacity to put stuff into the buffer. LCD screen, you have now a touch screen on the X-T3. Is it good or not? We will see. I don't know if its implementation is like the X-T20, but if it is, personally, I don't think it's anything to write home about. I will see on this one if it's the same, but now there is a touchscreen. There wasn't on the X-T2. Now on the EVF, you have gone up. You've gone from 236 million dots on the X-T2 to 3.69 on the X-T3. Both magnifications are 0.75 versus 0.77. You don't change that much, almost not worth talking about, but it is there and it's a bit different. For autofocus system, Fujifilm's latest mode uses hybrid autofocus system with contrast and phase detection, and these are used in conjunction together to get faster autofocus speeds. In single point AF, it features 117 phase detection points on a 13:9 grid. It's a lot. I mean, you're looking at something that's starting to compete with what Sony has in terms of amount of focus points. Now, the ability of those focus points to do a good job is another story. We all know that that sometimes was the case with Sony. Dual pixel sometimes would kick Sony's ass, sometimes it wouldn't, depending on what dual pixel by Canon. So I just wanted to mention that. But above all, what it boils down to is a lot more phase detection points, better processor to process those points when it comes to autofocusing. There's also eye detection. All this stuff makes for something that is very lightning fast when it comes to autofocusing. So that's something that might affect you if your workflow is very autofocus intensive, such as sports, event photography, wedding. You got to get those shots. You got to get them in the moment. If you don't get that moment, it's over and you lose the shot. So it might be interesting for you to go for the X-T2 instead of staying with the X-T3, which is already pretty good. I haven't had any problems with it. I've adjusted my workflow to the X-T2. I cannot say it's slow either. Now, AFC settings, which is autofocus continuous, meaning that the focus is constantly focusing the whole time you're doing your shot, which is super important for anybody doing video. They're both relatively the same. You still have that customizable autofocus setting menu where you can go in and change the menu on the type of performance you want and how you want the camera to perform when it's doing continuous autofocus. They're both still there, both customizable and both great. The X-T2 is fantastic. The X-T3, if it's at least what the X-T2 is, it is great. And I'm telling you, autofocus continuous on this camera is also just a good part of both the X-T systems. Burst modes, here's another one. Now, I think the conclusion is starting to really come to the fact that if you want speed and you want quickness, the X-T3 might be a good choice for you. Now, burst modes. So the X-T2, in terms of burst mode, you're talking about 11 frames per second, 14 frames per second in boost mode if you have the battery grip. What's cool about the X-T3 is there's a lot of stuff that you used to have in the battery grip that has been brought into just the basic camera box. So you can get 11 frames per second with the mechanical shutter, 20 frames per second with electronic shutter without even getting the battery grip, which is great. Here's where a lot of sports people are going to be really, really interested. If you go into what's called Sports Finder mode, you can get 30 frames per second with the electronic shutter, and this without any blackout. Each time the shutter goes off, you will not see blackness. Now, it's so important when you're shooting sports action, automobiles and stuff like that. When they pass by, you will miss the action if your screen keeps on blacking out and you're not seeing what's happened. So that's a really, really cool aspect of the X-T3. Now here are a couple of things that I really find cool. We're going into video and I think the X-T3 excels at. Now I know that the X-T2 is great. The video quality is fantastic, but what the X-T3 does is it offers even more options for your video. So it offers 4K at 60 frames per second. This at 420 10-bit color, but it is really a plus. I don't know if you've ever seen 420 10-bit color. It's quite good. I mean, it isn't 422, but it's editable. And the quality for the layman, and I'm talking layman, it's like me who's not cinema, is pretty darn good and it's pretty darn impressive. Now I don't want to get too much into the details, but the Fujifilm X-T3 offers a lot more all-intra options for video, which are great. It brings up the bit depth and you get that quality that you want if you're shooting commercial work or any sort of video work where you need to get high quality that you can grade and do whatever. You're also offered F-Log in this camera, so that might be something you might want if you're working in anything involving high dynamic range. There it is. If you grade your video later on, it's there. Now, don't forget that on the X-T2, since the 4.0 firmware, you also have F-Log and you also have slow motion 120 frames per second at high bit rates. Remember that the X-T2 with the new firmware, it's like basically a new camera. It's a new video camera, completely new. Whatever you bought, you just upgraded, it's fantastic. But if you want to go even further, the X-T3 will offer that to you, and in a big way, not just a bit. So anyone involving video, this X-T3 might be a good upgrade for you. Also, another thing in video is that in 4K, you are not cropped all the way to 30 frames per second. If you're using 4K, you do not have to crop into the sensor to get that shot that you need with the X-T3. With the X-T2, you do crop. Now, once you go up to 60 frames per second, it offers that, but they do crop in. The crop is 1.18 and it's not that huge, so it is kind of cool. Therefore, this is another reason if you want to jump over to the X-T3, it might be something you're interested in. Anybody using the Fujifilm system for video, you might want to use the X-T3. So now I'm just going to end off on a couple of things. I just want to mention that price has been lowered. Introduction price. Now you can still probably get the X-T2 for cheaper than the X-T3, but the introduction price of the X-T2 was a lot higher than the X-T3. The X-T3 is coming in at around $1,500 US, and the X-T3 a while back was a lot more expensive. But right now you can probably get the X-T2 at around $1,100 US. So it's kind of cool that they've brought down the price. They've made it a bit less prohibitive. I have a feeling it has a lot to do with the presence of so much competition with the other camera manufacturers. Bottom line is, if you are into action photography or you're into video, the X-T3 is your upgrade choice. If those things are not part of your main workflow, you should strongly consider either buying a new X-T2 today at a super lower affordable price, or keeping the X-T2 you already have. You guys, thank you for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more about the X-T2, because I'm coming out with a review soon on the X-T3 as well, please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to click that bell, and don't forget, everybody, keep on making something from nothing.